What is up, everybody? Welcome on into the Ernest Johnson episode 30
Wow.
of the Barking Brown Show. It's been a slow grind, as Ernest would say. We're here at week 30 weeks in now to this show. We started slightly after the Monday after the draft. We started, and that was 30 weeks ago. Wow, my how time has flown. I am your host, Jacob at Roachism13 on Twitter, joined as always by my wonderful co-host Nick Carnes at Carnesies817 on Twitter. Nick, it's a solemn night, but how are you doing?
Oh, it's been 30 episodes, so that's pretty cool. I don't think you know what? It goes so much faster. I've been having, regardless of the show that we're gonna do tonight, I've been having a great time with you, my friend. So we're just gonna. I feel like we're just gonna keep pushing. We got to keep pushing.
We got to keep pushing, man. It's not over. 5-5. Here we are. Where do we go from here? Maybe we're gonna make sense. We got a special guest here tonight who will join us here in just a second. I wanted to tell you more about our friends at Zabo Apparel. I'm wearing another Zabo Apparel shirt tonight. The wonderful people over at Zabo, Marine veteran, locally owned, very, very soft. SZABO APPAREL. He told me to tell you it is gear for the diehard fan by a diehard fan. So that is what Zabo Apparel is. That is what they bring. I wanted to thank you once again. I've said it every week, and I'll say it every week again. The most valuable thing you can give to someone is your time. Thank you yet again for giving some of your time to us. We are grateful to have you. We're going to try to make some sense of this. We're going to talk about some stuff. I got some jokes. I got some questions. Let's see where we go into it. So, like, comment, subscribe. What up? Send the comments. Our producer's monitoring them. We'll get some of them on the screen. But for a rundown on tonight's show to tell us what we're going to be talking about tonight, here is producer Ed. Ed, what is on the docket for tonight?
Well, hey, what's up, fellas?
Hi, Ed.
Well, we're going to talk about what happened in New England. And as a Browns fan, it wasn't much good. That first drive looked really good, though. Come on, guys, give it up. Hey. Scripted plays work, but then you got to figure out some other plays, and that didn't work so well. But we're going to talk to Mr. Brad Ward today, Ward on Sports, and get his perspective. He's always great analytically, and I know he definitely knows how to break down contracts and everything. And I know people are going to have questions about that and what the Browns could possibly do, probably moving forward with or without, because obviously you got to explore all avenues. And we're going to have some fun tonight, and we're going to cheer up this fan base because you know what, guys, we're 5-5. We're 500, not where we wanted to be, but we can still go to where we want to be. So let's do it.
Let's do it, man. Thank you, Ed.
And I am monitoring, guys. I'm monitoring the Twitter comments. Bring them
in.
I got one already. So let's go. Let's rock and roll.
Sounds great.
Thank you, Ed.
We'll talk to you a little bit later on, buddy.
Appreciate you, friend.
Thank you.
All right. So without further ado, I'm like stumbling over some words here because that's what happens. We are going to bring in Brad Ward, writer for US Today, the Browns Wire, host of the great show All Eyez on Cleveland. I have followed Brad for a little while. Originally, I was with Blue Wire Hustle, which he is also, his podcast is on Blue Wire Hustle as well. My old show was on Blue Wire Hustle with Isaac Gaston when we were on the Blue and Orange football podcast. So we're going to bring on the great Brad Ward. Brad, how are we doing tonight, man?
Excellent, gentlemen. Thank you for the invite. Very excited to be here on the Barking Browns show. Nick, big fan. Jacob, big fan. You guys are great. Always interacting with you guys on Twitter. You guys have been fantastic. So I'm excited to be here with you tonight. Hey, man, don't be sad. Don't be sad. We're on to Lions week, man. That's over. It's 5-5. You know, Stefanski today. It's Lions week. You know, we can talk about it, whatever. I'll talk about whatever, but you know.
Yeah.
So I'll just say this: the NFL is really weird, right? So we saw, we've seen the Bills lose to the Jaguars 9-6 in a game I never saw coming. We saw the Cowboys get routed by the Denver Broncos. Minnesota goes and beats the Chargers last week. The NFL is just weird, right? Like, so week to week, anything can happen. The Browns walked into, they were flat. They got Belichicked, and they just didn't look good. It was a bad matchup. Belichick was ready, man. He was ready to go 9 in the box. He was ready to go extra lineman 28 times on offense. He was ready to do all the things that nobody's done yet against the Browns this year, really push it to the extremes, and we didn't respond very well.
See, this is why you talk to Brad. Coming out just firing absolute knowledge bombs on you. I want to say this, Brad. I want to build off of what you said. I was talking to my dad about this today. You brought up the Bills losing to the Jags in what was just a Josh Allen on Josh Allen violence. It was just the most bizarre thing. Who in the league, like, because some people are going to come back with, well, they lost by 38 points. And I'm going to say, go over all of the teams and tell me who hasn't got their ass kicked this year. I mean, I understand Arizona got their ass kicked with Colt McCoy, so it is what it is. But, like, the Rams have got their ass kicked twice now, and we still think they're a very good football team. The
Packers got blown out week 1.
The Packers week 1 got blown out again. They got blown out early on last year too, and they seemed to figure things out just fine. Well, Tom Brady looked like crap last week, and he's still the greatest of all time. Like, this year, oh my God, what outside of what Tennessee's got 8 wins, like, and I think Buffalo have 7? Is that correct? Buffalo's at 7.
I think they have 6.
I think they have 6.
Because I was going to say you got the 8 wins for Tennessee, and then everyone else has 5 or 6 wins.
Yeah.
And you're sitting right there. So it's not over. I understand how depressed you are. I realized I needed to take a look in my mirror. For anybody that didn't notice it, I stepped away from social media for a day and a half because I realized I let the outcome of Browns games dictate my mood, and that just was not healthy. And so I know being upset about this game. I stepped away and I came back, and I'm like, gosh, geez, you've got 2 games with Baltimore, a game with Pittsburgh, a game with Cincinnati, all right in front of you. Ed lets me know that the Bills do have 6 wins. So you're looking at 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Outside Tennessee, I understand they've got 8, so they're kind of up there. But you're within 2 games of the 2nd seed, technically.
And that's what, immediately coming off the Patriots loss, that's what I said on Twitter. And I got met with such anger.
People gave out your parents' address.
Yeah, that was. And thank God Twitter, that's all deleted now. Oh, yeah. So I won't spend too long on it, but I said, I know this is hard to hear right now, but the Browns season isn't over. And I gave basically that the Steelers tied to the Lions, the Ravens lost to the Dolphins, and the Bengals, obviously didn't gain any ground. Well, I mean, they did, but you know what I'm saying? They were on bye. And someone quote tweeted that with my parents' address. And I don't know. I guess saying the Browns season isn't over is that large of a crime. So we got that handled. Thankfully to Twitter support and all of that. That's gone now. But it's amazing. You try and say, because the fact is that despite the fact that the Browns did just get completely annihilated, like we said, everyone else has. I don't think there's one team in the NFL that hasn't had a week that was like severe, where they just lose a game they're not supposed to, and so the fact remains that the Browns are right there, and people are just so angry. I don't know. I'm not trying to dwell on that. All I know is that the 3 of us here are well aware that the Browns are still there. You can't, I don't think in good conscience you can dwell on the terrible game the Browns played without acknowledging the fact that just 2 weeks ago they played, by all accounts, their best game of the season. And so that's frustrating, but I think it's an important piece to this whole puzzle.
I think that Nick, I mean, I'll comment this too. I was positive after the game too, not completely positive. I was like, hey, listen, we got our ass kicked. but 5-5, we're still in the thick of things because of some things that happened. Like I spent too many years. This is how I have said to people. I spent too many years mid-November being completely out of it to waste a season at 5-5 and bail on this football team. Just being in the middle of it, I'm gonna stick with my team. Yep. Yes, they played like crap. Yes, they've been extremely inconsistent. They have not lived up to the hype. But people want to take that and turn it into like hate if you're still supportive of that team, even though they haven't played up to the level. Like, I got so many people like trying to take like victory laps on me, like because they're 5-5 and that they look like crap on Sunday. What kind of fan wants to take a victory lap over that, right? And because you try to stay positive, they're mad at you because you're trying to stay positive. I'll never understand that. And I get it. Like, okay, I disagree with you. You're naive, whatever, this, that, the other thing. It's just absurd that the fan base gets mad at anybody that still wants to support the Browns because they haven't lived up to it. And that I will never understand mentally.
Yeah, I can't even, like you said, I'll never understand it. I can't even pretend to begin to understand it. I'm going to go ahead. We got all kinds of comments from Twitter, from Facebook, from YouTube. I'm going to catch up on those before we move on real quick. Cancel anime. I still hate your name, but because you know how I feel about anime, but you said, did we hear the rumors about Mayfield? The only thing I know about Baker was that he didn't play today. So practice today. And I saw Hayden Grove mention that he walked up with a little bit of a limp, which the dude's been battling out there. Andrew says, good evening to you.
No practice, fully expected to play Sunday is what I saw.
Right. That's the only thing I've seen was, hey, he was out. We expect him to be there. I think Stefanski, he directly said that, correct? That he expected him.
Yeah.
Pretty sure that's a quote.
We have almost got picked off in the ed zone on the first drive and Njoku to drop the touchdown. I really felt like I want to know the definition of what is and what isn't a touchdown, because I feel like you could have argued that he had possession and therefore I don't know. I'm not.
I would have argued for if it wasn't so lazy. It was like, why was he so lazy with the ball? Yeah. It's like you catch it and put it away, and but he like kind of like caught it and stood there. Like, what are you doing? Like,
it was almost as though he didn't realize that the guy right next to him was a guy right next to him.
It was really weird. It was a weird play, and it was almost a sign of things to come, how flat they were. I mean, he just looked so nonchalant with the ball. I've never seen anybody catch a touchdown that nonchalant before.
Yeah.
You're right.
And we've both been really fighting for Njoku and all year. And so that was a very strange effort and day from him, I thought.
Okay, Kyle says 12-5 is happening. I'm fine with that. Let's go.
Hi, Kyle.
Kyle, it's good to see you, my friend.
We miss you.
I don't think it's so much about how bad we lost because it does even happen to good teams. It's about the lack of consistency. I still believe we can put it all together. That's my belief as well. I believe they can put it together, and it is the lack of consistency. I said on Twitter afterwards, or maybe it was today or something. I was off work today, so I was on Twitter quite a bit today. I said at some point, I was like, you know what I don't know? Who the Browns are. I was like, I'm not like confident that I know who they are. I think I know who they are. We'll get into that. But from week to week, I'm not sure what we're going to get necessarily. And I think that for me, that's where I am frustration-wise. Kyle said the rumors are, I did see this. So the rumors are that the Browns will explore options at quarterback this offseason, per Jay Glazer. I feel like
sure.
You always explore options, but I don't like. I saw a mock draft that had the Browns taking the Pitt quarterback first round from like CBS Sports, and I'm like, I'm not. But yeah, I think they will. I will say this, that I talked to my dad earlier today, and we kind of pointed out. I think that last year we felt like Case Keenum was legitimate competition in camp for Baker Mayfield. rather, I don't think he ever had a shot to unseat Baker. I don't think he did, but I thought that maybe it was there to help him grow and help him and push him a little bit. But when we saw what Baker did last year, it was clear that he was miles ahead of who Case Keenum is. Because of that, I wonder now there's no way that Case Keenum's unseating Baker. It's not happening, period. So is it a bad idea to bring in somebody that could push him? No. I don't know why competition would ever be a bad thing, but that's as far as I'll go with quarterback options. Is I think maybe a backup to push him at most.
That's what I want to say, but I really have to see the last 7 games before I can really feel strongly about that. Because if he is, I mean, listen, man, I love Baker and I want Baker to work out so bad. But there have just been times this year that he has just not cut it. And you can say injury or whatever, but if he's that hurt, then he shouldn't be on the field. If he's that hurt that you can make excuses for his play, then he shouldn't be on the field. If he's on the field, then he's expected to perform. Yeah. And there have been times where he's just really disappointed and when the Browns really needed him. And basically what the Patriots did and what the Browns should expect Sunday against the Lions, against everybody really the rest of the year, is a loaded box. And they're going to make us throw the football. I mean, the Patriots were the first people to really say, like, we're going to put 9 in the freaking box. It's why that you saw so much it's why you saw the who's our running back? Dearness Johnson.
Dearness Johnson, sorry. Yeah.
Going in motion outside, like so many times out to the wide receiver and then going 5 wide because the Patriots are sitting with 9 guys in the box and the Browns are going, okay, here you go. You got to spread it out and you got to win. You got to win one-on-one because this is how it has to happen. Now, if you win one-on-one, you're going to go up and down the field on them. Baker didn't throw the ball well. Receivers didn't win. They have good secondary in New England. So you're going to see that same formula. You're going to see they're going to come up and say, we're going to stop the run. A lot of teams have done that, but the Browns have run the ball so well at times, it hasn't even mattered, right? But New England was formidable enough to say, we're going to put a stop to it, or at least we're going to put 9 up here and deter you from it, because they even really didn't stop it. The Browns stopped themselves from running the football by getting down by a touchdown, right? And throwing that interception and whatnot and chasing points, which I feel like they got away from the run too early, which Stefanski is guilty of sometimes. But you're going to see that. That's the formula. The Lions are going to do the same thing on Sunday. So Baker has to make plays. That's it. He has to make plays for this football team to go anywhere because they're going to make you throw the football. And he's just going to have to do it. In this last 7 games, he's going to have to do it. We've seen him do it before, but he's going to have to do it now. Back against the wall, up against the fence, 5-5. You got to come out swinging. He has to be able to make plays the rest of the way. And he's dinged in multiple ways. He's got a bad knee. He's got a bad off arm, which we know affects the way he throws the football. Certainly, he throws with his whole body. So I don't know what we're going to see the next 7 weeks. But if it's really bad, if this thing goes sideways, I cannot blame the Browns for exploring the best options on the market out there. If they want to say, hey, we've got a talented roster right now, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, whoever, Deshaun Watson, if you want to explore all of those, then go ahead and do it. I think you have to do your due diligence. I would not blame them for that. I think in the end, they end up coming back to Baker year 5 and seeing more of him. Ultimately, I think that's what happens. I just don't think it's really feasible for the Browns to go out and acquire one of those guys, but maybe they'll try. I don't know.
I mean, anytime your quarterback's throwing for under 100 yards, like I don't think you're ever winning that game, right? No. And so it's like I don't know. And you know what? It looked especially to me like when there were a couple different times where Baker tried to go basically straight vertical to Donovan Peoples-Jones and just missed him, right? And I think you can definitely see there where when he tries to go like in a straight line vertical, like his accuracy is just not what we're accustomed to. So, and I mean, I don't know. I agree that if they're saying he's healthy enough to be out there, then he has to find a way to complete those. But it's just like it looked like at times there was some separation and there were some opportunities to complete some passes. And I just think Baker Holley was just not. He wasn't completing anything. And so I hope moving forward that he finds a way because I definitely agree with what you said, Brad, where, if they're stacking it that bad, I mean, obviously you're going to have to throw, but it did really feel like even at 14-7, it's like Dearness Johnson just carved them up on the first drive. And so it's like, so you come back after that pick and I definitely, that's like the one thing. It's like, I want to, tweet about this too. It's like Kevin Stefanski is the most stubborn coach in the NFL when it comes to sticking to his guns and going for it on fourth down. But it's like literally you go down a single touchdown and it just feels like he is willing to
abandon the game plan
on a whim. And it's so
I feel that's
the one frustration I have with him. It's that even if they were stacking the box like that, it's like Dearness was carving them up to me. So I don't know.
I agree. I feel like he has a tendency to want to try to throw the ball at times. Like, I think he wants this pass offense to be really efficient. So at times, maybe he tries to will that into existence. Like when they get down by a touchdown, like, hey, we're going to carve them up right down the field. Or, hey, this is what we're supposed to be able to do when they put 9 in the box, 8 in the box, and they're showing heavy run protection. We're supposed to be able to carve them up with the pass game right now. So that's what we're going to do. Even though if you might have given it to Ernest, he still might have been able to get 5, 6 a carry. He's very disciplined in like, here's what should work here. And you make a great point in that, Nick, that there were opportunities there. And I think people are too hard on Stefanski in that, like, hey, the offense isn't working all right. His play calling is BS or whatever they want to say about it. Well, not always is our quarterback seeing the right things on the field. And a lot of times he's scheming open stuff that isn't getting hit right now and completed. It's a big problem. His vision has been all over the place this year. Odell Beckham Sr. posting that video, I laughed at because I've been looking at video all year of receivers wide open and wondering why they're not getting the ball in this offense. So when he put it up, I was like, preaching to the choir, buddy. I've been asking that since week 2. So
it's funny that I think that when it comes to play calling, I think that play calling is an easy scapegoat. I think it's everybody's easy answer as to why the offense didn't play well. Stefanski's. I have seen so many Stefanski as a terrible play caller this year posts on Twitter. It's asinine. Did I have issues with some of the play calling on Sunday? For one of the first times this year, yes, I did, because as you two have alluded to, I've alluded to on Twitter, it did feel like he abandoned the run a little too soon. However, people wanted him to give up play calling to AVP after Minnesota. Go watch that game again. There were plays. The plays worked. Baker missed them. You have dropped catch. You had some Pittsburgh. Some people I saw say it's 6. I thought it was 7, but somewhere between 5 and 7 drops. So if you give them, let's say it's just 5, you give them all 5. Baker was 25 of 31 in that game. Like the plays are working. The players aren't executing them. Does that mean he needs to change to try to figure out why? Maybe he needs to make some kind of adjustments to it, but the play calling has been fine. And I just think that just like people want to blame the quarterback, even when he was good, like it was not his fault against Pittsburgh. So like it's the quarterback and the play calling. And everybody says, well, let's let Alex Van Pelt call plays. And I'm like, he's never done it. So I don't know. That's how I feel. That's my little mini rant about the play calling. We've got several questions on Twitter as well as from YouTube. So we're going to get through some of those here real quick. Let's scroll all the way back up here. Here we go. Top Gun asks, do you guys think they have to win the AFC North to make the playoffs? No. I think it's the easiest way, but no. I mean, right now everybody's at 5 and 6 wins, as we talked about pregame. It's going to be hard. That's the easiest way, but I think they can still win a wild card.
It's tough because of the tiebreakers, right? Like they've lost a lot of tiebreakers. when you look at the Chargers, who are 5-5, and you look at New England, who is what 6-4, 6-5, whatever they are.
6-3.
If we go up and down this thing, I mean, they have the Broncos are 5-5. They have that tiebreaker, right?
Yep.
I think the Bills and the Patriots are going to get in, right?
Yeah.
Right. I just think the Patriots are playing really good football right now. I have a feeling that they are going to be one of the wild cards if they don't overtake the Bills. They play each other twice still, I think.
Yeah, they haven't played yet.
Which will beat up on themselves a little bit. But I think those two get in, which leaves 2 wild card spots.
They've got the opportunity to knock the Raiders down a peg when they play them later this year.
They do. Raiders still on the schedule, right? That's a big one for tiebreaker. So Browns fans should be rooting for the Raiders to do well and beat the other teams in the AFC West, because you want to win that tiebreaker then, right? Because you don't have it against the Chiefs and you don't have it against the Chargers, and they both are 6-4 and 5. Chiefs are 6-4, Chargers are 5-4. You have it against the Broncos, so you want to root for the Broncos, you want to root for the Raiders. Right. And I think the easiest way in, really, simplifying it. And I'm working on an article and kind of looking at the schedule of each one of these teams that we're talking about right now. Like the Titans are 8-2, right? But let me just say this. I don't know how they're doing it, and they're winning, but are they really going to win anything once they get into the postseason? I'm not a believer. I'm sorry. They're winning right now. I'm not really sure how they're winning without Derrick Henry, like the way they are. They have a good defense, good coaching, good matchups, but are they a Super Bowl contender? I don't see them as one, personally.
They're so weird. Wasn't it their team that lost cornerbacks in like back-to-back plays that torn ACLs? Like their 2 starting corners.
Yeah.
And then suddenly they start playing great defense. That's baffling to me. I have no idea.
They are of all of the weird things in football, they might be the weirdest team.
Mm-hmm.
Just because I just don't get it. Browns Canada says there are some bad people out there, fans and media. I think a little bit here and there. I think this whole what Mary Kay asked Jarvis yesterday is so blown out of proportion. I don't think what she asked was a big deal, and I don't think what he said was a big deal.
Really? I was taken back by it, honestly.
What he said?
I'll be perfectly honest. His reaction shook me a little bit because I looked to Jarvis as the heart and soul of this team. So when I saw him kind of like, I don't know. And, he's never really answered anything like that since I've seen him in Cleveland. Like he's always kind of been like falling in line with everything. That bothered me a little bit. I'm going to be honest.
I think
he seemed a bit shaken with the whole thing, right? Same thing for Miles. Same thing from John Johnson. That was direct questioning of the defensive coaching. And we can talk defense. Kelly asked a question about play calls inside the 5. I totally agree. I totally agree with her. Another problem I have Stefanski, and I don't want them to take play calling away from Stefanski, but he has the tendency to get too cute. Standing in the shotgun at the 5-yard line, like, what the hell are you doing, right? Like, I don't understand that one at all. I would agree with that.
I'm with you. I think
the red zone offense isn't great.
I'm trying not to read too much into the whole Jarvis thing, but like the look on his face was just he looked like he was in pain as he was answering that question. And I think it was Anthony Lima who tweeted that everything's good when you're a playoff team and your contract's guaranteed. Everything is not good when you're 5-5, you don't have future security, and you're not getting the ball to help you get paid. And so it's like I think you're seeing a lot of that shift, because all of a sudden it's like nobody's getting this. Nobody besides the running backs are getting the stats that they need, offensively to ensure future. And they were talking this morning, and I was listening to 92, and they were like, I'm sure if you asked Hollywood Higgins, he'd say a similar thing, right? Because none of these guys are putting up any kind of things that will give them security moving forward. So I think, and losing, I'm sure has that effect too. But you combine those two, and you got a lot of unhappy people.
Did you guys listen to the presser today? Did you listen to Stefanski's presser?
Not
So somebody
Stefanski.
directly asked, and I wanted to ask if I was there about Higgins, right? Like where the hell's Higgins been, right? And I get that they want to feature Donovan Peoples-Jones and Jarvis, and a lot of times they don't even get 3 wide receivers on the field. But even in the past, they've sprinkled him in, had him run in plays. He's been on the field. They're going 5 wide. He should at least be one of the guys out there. They're going all tight ends, right? I get that that's who they are at the core. But anytime Higgins has been put on the field in his career, he's made plays, right?
Yeah.
So if you need to make plays, put him on the field. Donovan Peoples-Jones tweaked his groin today in practice. I don't know if you heard. Not good news there. But somebody asked in the presser today, like, what's up with Higgins, right? Like, he's always produced in these moments. I think we see more of Higgins going forward. I think it would be a mistake not to. If you recall last year, he caught like 700 yards, and he had a spectacular last 6-7 games of the season. He was probably one of the better wide receivers in the league last year. He just has that knack for getting open, and Baker trusts him. So get him on the field a little bit. Like, I get DPJ is our future and our big play threat, and he's terrific, and I'm glad that he's here. He was a great draft pick, and I get that Jarvis is the heart and soul, and he does everything right, and he blocks and everything else. But if you really need to make a play or get 15 yards on 3rd down, I would like to see Higgins on the field because he just has a knack for that sort of thing. Howard asked a great question, like, why can't we just pass the ball down the field? Baker was a gunslinger in years 1 and 2. I get that question, but the answer is really Baker's not seeing the field very well. There are guys open at times, and even in the past when there weren't guys open, he would throw guys open or squeeze into a tight window. Watch the 10 games last year from week 6 on. He does nothing but drop back and throw freaking seeds into tight windows to receivers. He looks like one of the best quarterbacks in the league. That guy has not been here this year except for maybe 3 quarters in Kansas City. He won't throw into tight windows. He's very hesitant to push the ball down the field. I don't know if it's the injury or whatever, but he's just not as confident. He won't take chances. He won't throw into tight windows, and he doesn't really have his vision. He's not trusting his eyes or whatever, because there are guys open when you watch the all 22s a lot, and he's not hitting them. And he's not even trying sometimes. Like, he's very hesitant to even just let the ball go. It's a lot of this at the top of the drop, right? And then he scrambles for 2 yards or whatever. But even in Cincinnati, top of the drop, he was hitting his back foot and the ball was coming out, right?
Yep.
Like, that was the first time we've seen that in weeks.
We sat here last week, and I said specifically kind of some of the stuff you just said. Like, I said, I was very critical of Baker, more critical than I've ever been after the game against Arizona. Me and Nick were there, so that was part of it. So, like, I was even more frustrated with the 8 hours of driving that I did that was sandwiched around that disaster. But we said this last week. We're like talking about Cincinnati, and I'm like, he was decisive. He was quick. He was on point. All of these things that made him great. Like, I'm seeing Cancel Anime's comment. We'll build off of it a little bit. He says, remember early on in 2020, Baker was a little gun shy. He was afraid to pull the trigger. I feel he has some of that ever since his injury, because week 1, he didn't seem to have that. And that's part of what I said last week. Or a couple of weeks ago when we were talking, I was like, he is not seeing it. And when he sees it, he's not pulling the trigger. He's, oh man, can I make that throw? Oh, is there pressure? His feet aren't set. I wonder, like, I heard Rizzo say that it seemed like he couldn't plant this week. If that's the case, he shouldn't be playing. If you can't plant your foot to drive it and it's leading you to be less accurate, not have touch, or not be able to drive the football, I get it. You're better than Case Keenum. You absolutely are better than Case Keenum. But right now, are you better than Case Keenum? I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to say.
I guess that's why when we talked last week after the Bengals game, I mean, obviously we're excited and we're confident in all of that. But I think the thing that gave me the most confidence moving forward is just that Baker, because we knew a lot of Baker's issues were between the ears. Like you've said, he's not trusting his eyes and hesitant, and like Jacob had alluded to. And so then all of a sudden he looks like he has some confidence. He looks like he's got a little bit of that moxie, and that's what makes him good, because he has the arm talent to fit those tight window throws and to throw guys open. Well, it doesn't matter. You can have all the arm talent in the world, but if you're not confident in being able to do it, you're not going to. And so when he plays against the Bengals, even though his stats were modest, you could see that he was playing confidently. And so I don't know, maybe it's just the Bengals, and it just goes completely out the window against New England, and that. And because that interception was, I don't know what you're looking at there, but even then moving beyond, that's just one bad play. So it's like you can bounce back, and it just was non-existent. And so that's why I think this has been so deflating. That confidence is it's such a roller coaster. It seems like.
We have a good question here from More For You Cleveland that just popped up.
Hi.
There's some other comments that we're going to get back. We're going to get to some of try to get to all the comments we have. We're just lots of great
Mike's
questions.
got a good question in here too about 13 personnel. We'll get to that, I'm sure, but good stuff.
We'll grab this one from over here from, it's More For You Cleveland posed it, and then I got somebody else posing it here. Hypothetically speaking, if Baker's contract were up after this season, would you extend him? If so, at what number? I'll start. I said I answered because I got a DM about this as well from More For You Cleveland, and I thought, well, I need a hypothetical finish. Like, how does he? Like you said earlier, Brad, how does these 7 games play out?
If 7 games are critical, you got to see what happens here. Yeah.
I'll say hypothetically in my scenario that we continue this. We get a Bengals in a Chargers game, then we get a Steelers game, which was fine, or you get the Minnesota game where maybe you win, but you weren't very good. If you played somebody who played better on offense, you would probably have lost that game. If it continues to be a roller coaster and his contract was up at most, and I'm not even sure I would do this, but if I would franchise tag him. If you continue the way this is going and it was me, I'm not paying you more than 20 if I'm paying you that. And so for me, I would roll the dice on one more year, hoping that, and it would probably be the franchise tag. So I think that number is higher than 20, but I would roll the dice hoping that if you were healthy, that you could return. And I'm not saying that he could. I'm not saying I'm not putting all of this year on injury. I'm just saying I don't know where you're going to get something that's better. And as a result, I would probably roll the dice in my mind, thinking that we fixed you when you were healthy. Maybe that was the reason we couldn't get it going this year. And I would roll the dice on that. But that's a franchise tag for me.
I just think that there's the way the Browns record looks like it's going to shake out, and the way everything is, around the league, it doesn't seem like there's a clear path to like a second option at this point. So I guess I mean, under those circumstances, I have to extend him, or I guess just franchise tag. I think I like the franchise tag idea too. But it's like I can't just jump ship on Baker and say, well, we got Case and we'll see what else happens. I don't think that's a winning strategy. So even at current, I think you got to keep riding with them until you figure something else out. If it continued this way, I do have some faith that it can improve. They can completely control your destiny, especially Baker. So. But if it continues this way, I just think until they figure out something better, I don't think you can just go and say, okay, we have no plan.
Yeah, exactly. So luckily they don't have to, luckily they have the 5th-year option,
Yeah.
and then they have to make a decision. So
Mhm.
that's a good thing, because I think if you were forced into a decision after this year with the injury and whatnot, it would be a tough call. Now, here's the thing about the extension, guys. Like, signing a quarterback to an extension below market level just really never happens, right? So, like, the market is $40 million. Dak Prescott is kind of pretty much the quarterback market. The franchise tag is 28.5, right? Now, I wrote an article a while back about why they should try to avoid at all costs using the franchise tag on Baker Mayfield, because it's 120% each year. You will pay, if you saw all 3 years out, you would pay him much more than you ever would if you signed him to a contract, right? Look at what Dak Prescott got versus what he initially was offered, or that he would have taken initially. Like, they were up against it. That 3rd year becomes extremely expensive, and it's all guaranteed money right away, right? So, 28.5. I would do it for 1 year. If we were up against it this year, I would franchise tag him, because I don't think you have any other option, right? Like, you need to see more games from him. You would like to see him healthy and hope that another year in this offense would pay dividends, because you've seen flashes of him be really successful. We saw 10 games last year where he looked outstanding, and like, this offense was perfect for him. Has it evolved like we liked it to? Absolutely not. It's been kind of, either run game, and it just hasn't been right this year, kind of from the get-go. A lot of people are attributing that to all Baker's fault. He's not playing like Baker. Somebody makes a point here about it being coached into him. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they're coaching him. We can't have you turn over the ball because the defense hasn't played well, etc. And maybe that's in his head a little bit. But I think if they had to make the decision, I think you would have to go with the franchise tag for 1 year. But I would want to figure it out in that 1 year, because I don't want to go to 120%, 28.5, and then 120% of that. I don't want to see the 3 years out. And I don't think you're going to find – I think a lot of people think they're going to come to a middle ground of like $33 million a year and sign him to an extension like that. I hate to break it to people, but that just doesn't really happen in the NFL. It's either you're a market, like, here's the market, 40 million. Either you're a franchise quarterback and you're going to get that or above, or nothing. Like, they're not going to come to – they had an opportunity to offer him a contract at like 35 or 33 last year, and maybe he would have taken it. But now that you're going past that, and everybody knew that it's going to get a contract, he's going to get 40 plus if they're a franchise quarterback. I find it very hard to believe that they find common ground, like they're going to go to his agents and say, hey, you're not this guy, but we want to keep you long term. That just doesn't really make sense in the NFL.
Absolutely. I know that producer Ed's got a question for you about something Jay Glazer asked as it relates to Odell Beckham. So I'm going to bring Ed on, and he's got a question for Brad. I saw it in the comments, so I'm going to let him ask. Ed,
what up, Ed?
Hey, what's up, Brad? Yes, I got 2 questions. I don't know if you saw, but Jay Glazer was on the Pat McAfee show. And according to Jay Glazer, Odell Beckham told him after he was traded to Cleveland, basically said that, can you get me out of here? And then my second question for you is, I know it's going to be difficult, would be, what would it take to get Russell Wilson? Now, I as a Browns fan my whole life, I've seen these teams like Tampa Bay go out and get Tom Brady. We're like, oh, he's at the end of the career, but he wins a Super Bowl. And I've seen these guys, and Russell Wilson's got way more years than I think maybe Tom Brady. Maybe I'm wrong. We've all been wrong for so long now. But I really do think that, you go get, even if you have to give up a number 1, maybe a couple number 2s, why not? If you really believe that Russell Wilson, because look, the Browns have paid all this money on the offensive line. They paid all this money. I believe that they're going to get a receiver next year, whether it be Garrett Wilson from Ohio State or somebody like that. They have the running backs. They have everything. And everybody says, oh, the Browns have to be perfect for Baker to succeed. It looks like the rest of the team it is kind of perfect compared to other teams. Maybe the play calling is what's holding them back, or you could argue Baker's injury in his play subsequently. But it just seems like if you insert a franchise quarterback with this Browns team, it's hard to argue that they wouldn't be Super Bowl contenders. So why not just go out and do that, knowing that with the salary cap and the window is 2 to 3 years in the NFL, and then you kind of have to, start dumping players. Why not just go for it? What are we waiting for? And that is my question, Brad. You're awesome, and I will listen to your response.
No, I think you make some good points, and I think that like if the front office was of the belief that Baker was for sure not the guy, I think they might try to do that. And the problem though is when you take on a guy that's already being paid, like Russell Wilson, or when Baker got the extension that he wants, right? The way you construct your roster has to change. Like you can no longer be as loaded as the Browns are right now. It just doesn't fit. Once you pay your quarterback, the roster looks different. It has to get younger. You need to get guys on rookie contracts. That's just the way it works, right? So if you're giving up ones and twos to bring in a guy who's on a big time contract like Russell Wilson, it either has to work with what you have in-house or you're kind of screwed because you're giving away your best assets for the next couple of years and guys that you really need, like, okay, we can't pay this guy. We got to let him walk. Well, we can replace him with a 1 or a 2. Oh, wait, those 1s and 2s are gone. What are we going to do now salary cap-wise? We're screwed. Oh, now we have to depend on our 4th and 5th round draft picks to come in and play right away. Does that work out in the long term? It's a risk. You can roll the dice. You can hope that your draft, teams have done it before, right? I mean, we've seen it before. And if they were of the belief that Baker for sure wasn't the guy, then maybe you do that, right? Maybe you have to do that because you feel like you're in a window of winning, right? I kind of think that Barry long-term doesn't want to look at it as a window. I think he wants to set this up as maybe hey, we're going to be good for a long time, regardless. So I think that kind of a gamble and giving up those kind of draft picks really hamstrings you because you bring on that contract and you're giving away what you need to complement that contract, which are high round draft picks to make the roster build and work in the future, if that makes sense.
I would like to ask because I know things change so rapidly in the NFL, but it was just a year ago that Ryan Tannehill signed that 4-year, $118 million contract, and it's like, to me, if you see some good out of Baker, I think at this point that would be my dream scenario. Because I mean, obviously, I agree with you, Brad, that basically it's the good quarterbacks are never taking less than the Dak and Josh Allen deals. I understand that, but is there any possibility that you could work? And I mean, I know it would probably be a little more than Tannehill, but is there any possibility that something like that could be a reality?
like a second tier contract, you mean? Yeah. I don't. Have we seen that ever? I don't think there's any precedent for that, really. Is there? It's like when Tannehill signed the deal. Yeah, when Tannehill signed his deal, it was top. That was the top, right? Or it was close, maybe except for maybe Mahomes. I don't know the timing of that. But at the time he signed that, he was maybe the highest paid quarterback in the league, I think. So I just think that that boat or that opportunity passed this year. They could have offered him 35 this offseason before the season started, or even at the beginning of this season. I think he would have taken it, but they weren't sure. They wanted to see more data points on him, and I'm glad they did, right? I'm certainly at this point, we're glad that he waited, right? Because so far it's been a disappointment this year. Yeah. So, but will Baker's camp be oh yeah, sure, we know 40 is the market and Prescott's getting 40 and Allen's getting 40 and anybody else that signs that they think they're a franchise quarterback, they're going to get 40 plus, but we're going to take 35 because we know we're not as good as them. I find that unlikely to happen.
I see that Rogers joined us, the old grumpy Rogers in here. So hey, old grumpy man, how you doing, buddy? I like to take stabs at Roger. He's a good dude. He's a really good dude. So I'm going to get to Mick's question here.
Good question.
You may have covered this. We hadn't yet, but the Browns are playing so much 13 personnel. Are we expecting too much from the scheme? We don't see too many big shots with only one wide receiver. This is what I'll say about that. Njoku is a big play waiting to happen. I think it depends who you put the one wide receiver out there. I think it's interesting. Like, I love Jarvis, but if I'm doing one wide receiver, I'm not afraid of him beating me vertically. So, like, I think it has to do with who that one wide receiver comes. But Harrison Bryant's pretty athletic. I know he does mostly underneath stuff, but Njoku can. I think the scheme can work. I think we've seen it look. I mean, Njoku has gotten so much better at not dropping the ball, and then he decided to drop 2 on Sunday. If you count the first one, which like we talked about before, it seemed like a lazy catch. So we're going to put that on Njoku as like kind of a pseudo drop, I think. And then the one, I don't think we're asking too much. I think I said this earlier that I think the plays are there. I like the scheme. I think our personnel really match the scheme. I don't think our personnel match the scheme on defense, and I think that's the problem going on right now on defense, and we'll probably transition there here in a second. But that was when Stefanski came here, we're like, his scheme and this personnel is going to be phenomenal. It's there. You're not taking what's there.
I would tend to agree. So here's the thing, though. Like, you have to think about it in the big scope of things, right? Like, so a lot of 13 personnel, Browns they run a lot of 13 personnel. A lot of 13 personnel is like 20% of the time. That's like 3 times more than the rest of the league, right? Well, it's still only 20% of the time. So you're still in 11 personnel like 60% of the time. Almost every team in the NFL is. So when you talk about scheme, being scheme agnostic and stuff like that, with being our 13 personnel, like, it's only 20% of the time. And yeah, I do think it's effective when it's out there, because you have guys like Njoku, Hooper, and even Harrison Bryant that cause, if you run it at the right time, they're going to give you matchup issues, right? Like, any linebacker trying to run with Njoku or even Harrison Bryant is going to have problems. And the Browns are just effective that way because it looks like run and it turns into pass. And the run to pass transition in 13 personnel is, hey, we're heavy, we can run well from this. And B, we look exactly the same, and now we can stretch the field with our tight ends. And the Browns have good tight ends. And I hate to say it, there's been a lot there in 13 personnel this year. It's just sometimes not being completed by 6. So I don't think it's the scheme. I think it's the execution of the scheme that's lacking.
In summation of the offense, then, because I mean, obviously we had a lot to say about the offense, but in summation, is there a chance that this Detroit game is a get right game for Baker?
It should be. It's not a very good football team. Now, with that said, let's say against the AFC North, they've played pretty damn well. It took a miracle field goal from Tucker to beat for the Ravens to beat them.
Yeah.
And Pittsburgh just tied them. So you can't take them lightly, right?
They play hard.
Despite their record, they play hard. They're a bunch of kneecap biters. Dan Campbell's kneecap biters. They certainly are that, right? They're 0-8, but they'll bite you at your kneecap for sure. They're going to play hard. They're playing for a win. But it should be a get-right game 100%. They are out Jimmy'd and Joe'd by a ton by this team. The Browns have so much more talent than this football team. It should be an easy victory. I don't know how easy it'll be, but, we've seen how any given Sunday has played out this year more than ever, right? So but the Browns can't take them lightly, but a win is a win. I just want them to win. I don't care if they win big, little, small. If they win, I think you're that going into this, and I said this even before the season, Baltimore by Baltimore, the quirk in the schedule that a couple teams have with their division rival is the season. That is the season, right? Like it's a favor. It plays into the Browns' hands because normally if you sprinkle those games through your schedule, you have to get ready for, it's like getting ready for Army or Navy in college, right? It's a hard, difficult week of preparation because it's unlike any other team in the league. That's what getting ready for Baltimore is like. Well, if you don't play them in the first 8 games, you don't play them in the second 8 games, you only play them one time, that's doing you a favor, right? You don't have to get ready for them twice. You have to get ready for them one time, and you get a week to watch film and tweak things in between and then play them again while they have to go to Pittsburgh that week. So you should be able to split with Baltimore this year, at the very least. So I'll give you Sunday Night Football in Baltimore the first week. Baltimore better win that Sunday night game, or else the Browns could take 2 from them, and that could change everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's slide over to the defense. Let's talk just a little bit. I mean, I just want to talk just a little bit about the defense, and then I've got some jokes and some questions for everybody to end out the show. And I'm really excited to make everybody laugh because I got some good ones. They are brewing, I tell you what. So anyway, I want to talk about the defense real quick. Just one thing. This is what I'm frustrated about. And you guys can build off of this or say what your piece about the defense. I'm frustrated because last week you didn't do anything different. You went out there and it was like my dad said, you got punched in the mouth. You got punched in the mouth. You're like, oh shit. But then you were like, you know what? Let's see if they punch us in the mouth again if we do the exact same thing. Oh shit. You know what? Let's do it again and see if they punch me in the mouth again. Like, you went with a dime package when New England was on their own one. I can't defend Joe Woods anymore. I can't do it. There are no changes. You are not. We talked about this with Freddie. This was what you can't out talent bad coaching. And it felt like in Freddie's year, he tried to force the players into his offense, what he wanted to do. He didn't adjust his scheme to his players. And that's what Joe Woods is doing right now, in my opinion. He is, let's do this. I want you to do this. Your guys aren't doing that well. They're not doing it well. So please stop doing the same shit. That's my piece.
I just don't understand because it's like the Browns so consistently force teams into third and long.
Third and long, yeah.
Give it up. And I have no idea what changes when that down number hits 3, but everything goes to shit. Every time it's insane. It is the amount of third and longs that they had New England in was great. They played on first down well. They played on second down well. And I mean, I know when you look at the total game, obviously they didn't always do that, but they forced New England. I think it was in a nine third downs, which I mean isn't awful. And I think the only third down that they didn't give up was when Myles Garrett batted that pass down right before halftime.
7 for 9 on third down.
7 for 9. Okay, that's horrendous. That there's no excuse, especially when you're not talking about 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3. You're talking about like the just these situations that it's like, well, we won on first and second down. Why are we not winning on third down? What is the breakdown there? Because obviously you had the talent and you had the idea right to win early in these series. So what are you doing? There's something that is changing that you are clearly doing wrong, that you're giving up these situations that you should not be giving up.
All right, Ed's got a question. It's for Brad. So here he comes. Lay it on him.
Yes, Brad, I got a question. Hey, and it's about Joe Woods. Okay, now the Browns spent a lot of money on John Johnson III, Troy Hill, brought in. Okay, now we all know that Woods was in San Francisco and had some success out there. What is it about the Browns defense that's making it unsuccessful? Is it the scheme that he's running, which is probably the same scheme as San Francisco, or is it the personnel? What is it about this Browns defense from a personnel standpoint that's making them not execute like the San Francisco 49ers did under Joe Woods back when they were successful a couple of years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've done a lot of work on the scheme, actually. So what Joe Woods brought to Cleveland initially, right, and deployed was the Seattle cover 3. So there's multiple teams in the league that run versions of this, but when the Legion of Boom played, they play like a cover 3 almost like in basketball, like a matchup zone type cover 3, right? So it deals with a lot of communication, but you have 3 guys taking care of the deep third, and it allows players to, like in that Seattle scheme, it allowed them to really play downhill and with a lot of man-to-man techniques, a lot of press bail, a lot of stuff that they did in the secondary that they became really nuanced and good at because they could play off of each other and they knew what was coming and passing guys from zone to zone. And it was very effective there. It was very effective in San Francisco. But, Sherman was on one side. He had played it all his career in Seattle. It's the same scheme. Joe Woods brought that here. They deployed it. It wasn't great at times. It takes some time, right? There's a lot of nuance to it. You've got to the same play. So San Francisco used to run that scheme. This is kind of interesting, right? They used to run that scheme basically 80% of the time, the year they went to the Super Bowl, right? With Joe Woods and Saleh, right? Robert Saleh. So the biggest play that Super Bowl was the 3rd and 15 where Mahomes ran that. It's 22 jet wasp. It's kind of famous now where Tyreek Hill starts to go across the field and then circles back into the vacant area. And remember, he's just standing there. Mahomes just threw it up into that quadrant of the field, and he caught it on that big 3rd and 15, and they went down and took the lead, right? So if you went back a couple, that same play, I saw like last year, the Ravens ran it against the Browns, basically a version of 22 jet wasp where but they did it with Marquise Brown, cuts across the field. The corner gives up on his 3rd, and he cuts back in behind him, and they throw it to him. This year, we've seen more cover 4, more cover 3, and obviously his dime that he wants to deploy. But I was kind of putting up with the cover 3 and the cover 4, like, okay, I get why he's running this. This is what he's used to. They're sprinkling in some other stuff here and there, but none of it is aggressive. And get this, in the NFL today, it's hard to be an aggressive defense. It really is. Like the main philosophy for teams, and it has been for the Browns a lot this year, is we're going to make you matriculate the ball down the field. We're not going to give up the big play and hope you make a mistake. Bend, don't break. Hope we can turn you over. 10 play drives, 12 play drives. Not going to give up the big one. So they did against Kansas City, the Chargers, etc. That's why they gave up 40-plus points in all those games, right? All that stuff, right? But they were in them because the offense was playing well at that time. What my problem with Joe Woods is this, right? I think he has the cover 3 and cover 4 is great in those games. I think that was a good game plan, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're playing a team like the Patriots, the Steelers, you have to change. Like a defense in the NFL cannot be the same every week. It cannot rely on the same schematic approach every week. Okay, we're going to tweak this and that, but we're still going to be in quarters and cover 4, and we'll sprinkle in some cover 3 and some fire zone blitz and do that every week and hope it works. Majority of the zone, right? 80% of the time, the Browns are in zone, probably more than that, right? I want to see some single high safety, some man-to-man press coverage. You have Denzel Ward. You have, be aggressive. Be aggressive in your secondary play against teams like the Patriots. And he's a rookie quarterback. You set in zone and let him pick you apart all day. Ben Roethlisberger, they want to throw the ball quick and get it out quick. Get up and press in man and give those guys some responsibility. The more you implore a guy like a rookie, I think they're afraid to do it with their rookie corner, right? But the more you empower him and implore him into that position, the better we will be. We saw what he could do against Jamar Chase in the Cincinnati game. He was fantastic. I just want to see them show him. Joe Woods has not shown the ability to me, and I know I'm getting real long-winded here, but to go from week to week and change what you look like. You have to be an amoeba of sorts in that the offense you're playing, your scheme should be to win that week and that week alone. It shouldn't be like, hey, this is who we are, and we're going to be that every week no matter what. That's my problem with Joe Wood. No, you should be different every week based on your opponent. And you should use the assets of a John Johnson and a Grant Delpit and Malik McDowell and all these talented guys, Denzel Ward, Greg Newsome. You should use their talents differently every week, right? Like to attack and to be different and to confuse and to bring pressure. But he doesn't do that. It's very much the same look every week, week in, week out. We saw it against the Bengals. That was a lot different than what they had done going into that. They decided to play Jamar Chase straight up one-on-one, and it worked, right? But then against the Patriots, we went right back to cover 3, cover 4, zone 80% of the time. You know, you have to get creative with your blitzes. You have to get creative in the secondary. You have to make these guys think they're too good to come out against teams like this. Your defense should be different every week.
Yeah, you know, they say this over and over and over again, right? About Bill Belichick, that Bill Belichick sets out each week to take away whatever it is you do best, which is what he did.
Right.
Why aren't you trying that? This is like Cancel Anime kind of brings it up. You got a blitz. What's the logic in blitzing Burrow but not Mac Jones? One is mobile, the other is not. You blitz the one that is somewhat mobile. You didn't blitz the statue. I thought you had a perfect opportunity to blitz. I think Mac Jones is good. I think he's fine. He's better than I thought he was going to be. He's not moving back there, man. It's Tom Brady. It's Peyton Manning. Like,
they played 28 downs with an extra lineman. They were ready to chip Myles Garrett and give him help on every play. Same thing with Clowney. And they also, if you noticed, the reverses and the jet sweeps are to stop them from rushing up the field, right? Like, that's all leverage. When they rush up the field and you run a jet sweep around it, you're screwed on leverage. Your outside contain is busted because your guys think you're passing and they're rushing upfield. That's why the Patriots were successful on multiple reverses, multiple jet sweeps. They wanted to slow that down, and they effectively did. And they played 28 downs with an extra lineman. So they were going to stop your pass rush. You had to make Mac Jones uncomfortable some other way. Get creative. Find a way to do it. I think that's what Myles is talking about, and John Johnson's talking about post-game, where they're complaining about not making changes mid-game. Mid-game, you had to do something different to make him uncomfortable, and they didn't.
Yeah. Nick,
that's my problem with Joe Woods. That's my problem with Joe Woods. I defended him for a long time. Last year, he didn't have the players. I defended him the first 6-7 weeks this year. Like, hey, you got to give this time to work, right? These guys time to play together, etc. But after watching the last couple of weeks, I'm very much concerned that he just doesn't have the right approach. You know, instead of trying to fit. It's the same thing with your offense, or it's like taking basketball coaches will take an offense and say, all right, players, here's our offense. This is what we run no matter what. Here you go. No, you have to create your offense based on who your personnel is. It's like fitting a round device into a square hole, right?
Yeah.
Or a peg, round peg into a square
peg,
hole.
Circle,
square peg, round hole, whatever that is, right? That saying is, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you have to make your defense fit what you want to create happen on Sundays, right? So for that week, you have to make it different. And maybe halfway through the game, you might even have to change that. But that's part of being prepared and all that stuff. And just falling back into what you do and sitting back in zone is not going to get it done when you're playing Belichick.
The scary thing to me is that if you look at the Browns defense right now, aside from the linebackers, they're basically the starters that you started the year with across the board. And I don't think you would find many defenses that are as healthy as the Browns defense is. So to have this much talent on that unit and to be getting torched like this, I mean, you are underachieving to such an incredible level, in my opinion, because I don't think many units are nearly as healthy as Cleveland is, and I don't think that a whole lot of them have as much talent from the secondary to the defensive ends to the line and all of that. And it's just like still and I know they've had a couple of great defensive outings, but I think they've largely taken advantage of teams. And it's like when you go against someone that knows what they're doing offensively, you're getting exposed. And so to me, I just even if the Browns, I can't see a way that I would say Joe Woods should return for 2022. I just can't see. I can't, after watching this and thinking about all of those things, I can't see any way I'd say that.
Yeah. Last week, I would just say that they got severely outcoached, right? And Mac Jones played a hell of a game, but you let that happen by letting him sit back there all day long. So, I mean, he threw great balls, right? Like that one ball he threw between Johnson and whoever else was in coverage. I mean, that was a seed, right? I mean, and that's what we want to see from Baker, right? Those kind of throws into those kind of windows. But that was a great throw, great catch. Kendrick Bourne. I mean, their wide receiving core is not special. They're average guys. And Mac Jones is a rookie quarterback, and he sat back there and picked them apart. But they really got out schemed on defense. Like they got the jet sweeps, the end arounds really were effective in cutting down the pass rush, and they got the Browns to play defensive and stop the pass rush, and Mac Jones was very effective from that point forward. They knew what they were doing. They had it schemed up. They had a game planned up, and Joe Woods got his ass coached right off the field on Sunday. It was a big part of the game, no doubt about it. Like, that doesn't mean that he didn't have a good game against the Bengals the week before, because I thought that was creative, more creative than they've been all year. Going, one-on-one against Jamar Chase, saying, hey, I think our corners can play with this dude. And they did. Yeah. Right? So, like, empower your players to do more, right?
That's
be a little more risk-taking in your calls, right? Like, let's make some plays happen. The Browns are so, 28th in takeaways. This defense is too good to be 28th in takeaways. Get aggressive. And maybe you'll see the floodgates open on that. They're due some positive regression to the mean in turnovers. They absolutely are due that.
I will comment on Cancel Anime's comment where they had jumped out and came back in. I want to comment on that. And then I got jokes. All right. He said that he thought in 2020 what he saw from Baker was a more polished gunslinger version of Baker from his rookie season. And I agree. When he is on, he is a gunslinger. And anybody who doesn't think that Baker on isn't a gunslinger, I just don't think that's true. I think he's a gunslinger. All right. So I got some jokes. I got a couple jokes for you. And then I have a question exclusively for Brad. And then to finish the show, I'm going to bring Ed back on and give you a very bizarre scenario, which is what I did to close the show last week. And we have decided that is how we are closing the show going forward. So
fun.
I got a couple of jokes for you. So what do you call a factory that makes okay products? A satisfactory. Yeah.
Okay.
That's terrible.
That's
terrible. It's terrible, Jacob.
Hey, I asked my dog what 2 minus 2 is. He said nothing.
That was the joke?
Yeah. Yeah. What did the ocean say to the beach? And nothing. It just waved.
Oh. I was going to say, see you later or something like that. I don't know.
Hey, what's a last one. What's a pirate's favorite letter?
R.
R.
Yeah. C, you would think it would be the R, but really it's the C. That's my okay. So this is a question that I ask all of our guests. It's a very important question. I have a running tally.
He does.
The answer.
He does have a question.
Is cereal soup?
No. What?
Oh, come on.
What?
It's breakfast.
What did you
soup.
say? Is cereal soup?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No. Wait, are you contending that it is soup?
It's breakfast soup.
No. Negative.
If you
Maybe.
want to hear the greatest answer to that question ever, I asked Pete Smith to answer that on Locked on Browns, and he broke it down like he was breaking down football. It was phenomenal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's cold. It's just you pour something into you're actually eating what you pour into the milk. Like it's not soup. Cereal is its own entity. It is not soup.
All right. We're about 50-50 on that.
Are you a cereal in bowl first and then milk, or milk and then cereal?
No, it's got to be you put the cereal in first, definitely, and then milk, or else you can't gauge it properly, right? Like, why would you do it the other way? But when I do eat cereal, I'm not just having one bowl of cereal. I'm going to eat the cereal, and then I'm going to have the box right there and pour a little more in, because the milk gets better with every round. So, like, if you're having like Fruity Pebbles, like the best bowl of cereal you'll ever have is like that fourth time you put like a little bit more in. It makes me sound like a fat ass, but in reality, that's the truth, right?
Yeah, it's the truth. Okay. All right. We're gonna bring producer Ed on here. We're gonna do our final little segment. Okay.
What up, Ed?
I got a question. Somebody wants to know: is a bread bowl a soup sandwich?
It is. Yes.
What? A soup sandwich?
Is a bread bowl a soup sandwich? I'm just reading what the Twitter comments say.
No, negative. It's a creative way to hold the soup. It is soup sandwich.
Soups? There are no soup sandwiches.
I could pick that up.
The Browns ate poop sandwiches, but I don't know about soup sandwiches.
There are no.
Jacob, what are you talking about? You definitely are not eating it like this. That is absurd.
From the top, from the top.
It would break.
You eat the soup and then you start to tear off the sides and dip it. It's like
it's warm and nice.
Yeah, it's not a sandwich by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
Man, I'm just losing a battle tonight.
You could eat.
Well, there's no right answer to these questions. So I
will say one thing. Bill Belichick, when he was coach of the Browns, he told us how to make a peanut butter sandwich, and you got to use crunchy, and you have to make sure that you put the peanut butter on both pieces of bread, and then put the jelly, because you don't want it to leak. So there was some kind of coaching with that, but I don't know about soup in these sandwiches. I don't know what Jacob's getting into, but the greatest coach of all time told us about the PB&J.
I don't eat PB&J. I've never liked it, even as a kid.
Okay.
Okay. I got one then. Okay, listen. So a Pop-Tart. Is that a Danish or a ravioli?
Neither.
It's a Pop-Tart. I eat those every day. The strawberry ones.
It's a freaking Pop-Tart. It's
Pop-Tart.
It's neither.
It's neither.
This show has gone downhill. All right. So now for the final segment here. All right, I need all three of you to weigh in. You found a time machine that took you back 600 years. All you have are the clothes on your back. How do you tell the people that you're from the future? And they believe you, I guess. That's the question. I'll start with you, Nick. You seem like you know.
Ooh. I'm gonna give them. I guess I wouldn't know. I might know some significant years. I would have.
It would be like what? 1421.
1421. Yeah, I can't.
Where? Like here or not here? I mean, England. What?
Anywhere. Let's say anywhere where they spoke the same language as you. Let's say that.
Okay.
I have no idea. How would you make them believe you? They'd think you were some kind of witch.
Yeah.
I dress like I'm in 1421, so I don't know. Maybe they think I'm not there. I don't know. I mean, is this English attire? Yeah. I don't have on a powdered wig. Maybe I don't know. But
if they speak English, I think I could be convincing enough in my words to tell them that I'm from the future. Like, hey, this is what the future's like. Like, there's cars, there's planes, there's this, there's houses. This will help you. Let me tell you about this. Oh, don't take that down. We got a better way. I got a better idea over here. I've seen this before. Like, you would be full of ideas. Like, you would seem like a genius to these people. So I think that's what would be most effective.
I think Brad's a smart guy. So,
well, I would tell them this. If they're in England, I would tell them, if you don't want heartache on Sundays, don't have your family go to Cleveland. That way they're not Browns fans.
That's terrible, Ed.
That's terrible. I'm sorry. Hey, we're still better than Detroit.
Right.
I think
that made me sad in my heart when you said that.
Yeah.
Well, if it was like,
I'd be like, go to Cleveland and enjoy being a Browns fan.
You know what I would tell them? If I was in New England or I was in England, you know how when Columbus in 1492, 1492.
Either way, I would make sure I'm on that ship.
So when he thought he was in India, he thought he had set. I would tell them that America is there and then show them.
It's a good idea.
That's what I got. All right, guys.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea. You'd have to get with the right people,
Yeah.
Set it up. But like,
speaking of Indians, Friday 9:00, we're changing it to Guardians. Get your gear.
Guardians.
Get your gear to what? Burn it?
No, I'm going to root for the Guardians. I mean, I'm still going to keep my Indians gear. But hey,
are you going to burn the stuff with Chief Wahoo on it and all that? You think? Is that what we should properly do?
It's not an American flag that touched the ground, so no, I don't think so.
Okay. It's not like you can really wear it. You can wear it. Yeah, I mean, you can wear it. I don't know. I don't think I have.
I've never had a
Chief Wahoo on it. I think I have all Block C stuff. So that's still good, right?
Block C is great.
That's good.
Yeah.
Block C
I've never had a professional sports team I root for change names.
No.
So this is all new territory.
Unfortunate.
I don't know what to do.
I really don't like the name Guardians. I'm going to be honest with you. I think they really dropped the ball going with the Guardians here. I mean, they had a chance to do something really cool. Like, I really liked the Blue Sox. I really liked the Cleveland Baseball Club. Like, that would have been really cool. Like, I think they had a chance to do much better than the freaking Guardians. It just sounds. It doesn't sound great.
It doesn't feel like baseball.
It doesn't.
Promotional wise, they can have Parents and Legal Guardians Day.
Great.
Sign that permission slip. Get you out. Have a businessman special.
I think that is a good enough point to end this show as anyone we're going to find. So real quick before Nick takes us out, Brad, tell everybody where they can find you.
Yeah, follow me at Ward on Sports on Twitter, also at All Eyes on Cleveland. You can go to alleyesoncleveland.com. The website's awesome. You can leave a voicemail. There's the video version of the show, the audio version of the show on the website. It's pretty cool. Pod page is an awesome place to start your website if you're interested, but they do all that for you. It's pretty cool. And then I write for USA Today Sports Media Groups, thebrownswire.com. I just did how the Browns saved $3 million on Odell's settlement, and I just finished yesterday a complete and very detailed breakdown of Wyatt Teller's contract and what will happen in 2 years when the out is up. So
got it. Brad, you are a busy guy. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
My pleasure.
This has been really, this has been a lot more pleasant than I thought the show was going to be. Ed, you're doing a great production job. Don't let those people at the dog jug tell you any differently.
Shut up. Free Ed movement is on. Shout out to my man, Troy Spradlin. He was doing his thing. He was showing the large crowds in Cleveland gathering today for the Free Ed movement. It's real. That OBJ, free OBJ. Come on, man. This Free Ed thing is bigger and it means more. Love you guys, Barking Browns. I am a dog chugger. Matt Schatz. Catch me later on 10 o'clock with the Andy and Roger and Ross, and I will be there. Brad, you're awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ed. You're the man, buddy.
I just want to say before we sign out here, thank you to all our Patreon members, all our patrons. You guys are wonderful. You do not know how much your support means to us. For just the wonderful price of $5 a month, we have a exclusive Twitter group chat. Jacob writes articles. We do a monthly shirt giveaway courtesy of the great Zabo Apparel. I might be missing some things, but we do lots of fun things for you.
I have a massive announcement. I can't make it until tomorrow. But maybe, I don't know, maybe like I'm dipping my toes into more stuff.
More stuff. More stuff.
Maybe,
You love more stuff.
maybe I'm writing. I don't know. Maybe I.
There it is. So this has been the 30th. What a wonderful episode of the Barking Browns show. I'm Nick. He's Jacob up there. There's Brad. I even pointed everybody in the right direction. We're going to win this week. Go Browns.
Go Browns.